it was envisaged a series of warnings by health experts, most Nigerians were skeptical that it would actually return with an intensity the authorities describe whenever they sound the alarm. True to predictions, coronavirus is back in full force and ravaging countries of the world. Global figures are rising daily. London is on a second lockdown, with other nations on the verge of doing the same. Before now, cases in Nigeria had slowly begun to decline. However, figures are beginning to rise again. With this trend, experts say a second wave is culpable of returning the pandemic war to square one. How can the country nip this scary situation in the bud before it gets out of hand? And what mandatory roles must the public play to prevent contracting the virus, thereby preventing an influx of patients to the near empty isolation centers and consequently reducing, if not totally eliminating, fatality figures? More importantly, there is the issue of the groundbreaking COVID-19 vaccine that is topping international news headlines. This is a summary of Panorama today, coming to you from the Lagos Network Center of the NTA. I am Dotun Ogwemi. Thanks for joining us. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Nigeria is emerging stronger from the economic recession and expressed confidence in ongoing efforts to address factors responsible for the hyperinflation recently recorded by the country. Speaking at the opening of the 26th session of the Nigeria Economic Summit tagged Building Partnership for Resilience, the Vice President said the Economic Sustainability Plan is private sector led with a view to returning the country on the path of sustained positive growth. Leah Katung Babatune completes the story.
Gathered here and virtually are global policymakers, business leaders, development partners, scholars and youth for a big conversation for action on the Nigerian economy. Though the initial plans were around partnerships, the recession, a consequence of the coronavirus pandemic, was a key feature, and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo took time to itemize efforts by the government to build confidence and restore growth, among which is the reduction in levies for imported vehicles from 35% to 5%. A decision, he says, was taken to ease the cost of transportation, a prominent factor responsible for the sharp rise in inflation figures. He virtually declared the summit open with an assurance that the Economic Sustainability Plan will achieve its target.
All the programs in the ESP, that's the Economic Sustainability Plan, are reliant on the private sector playing a key role in creating and conserving jobs and the production and delivery of services in agriculture, in housing, in solar power, and digital technologies, to mention just a few sectors. To take the example of agriculture, with the support of the banking sector, the federal government is working to organize finance for farmers, and we're also guaranteeing uptake of the produce. This is the mass agriculture program which the federal government has undertaken.
The summit is hinged on three pillars: collaboration, execution, and impact. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed is optimistic that the country will get out of recession by the first quarter of 2021.
Yes, through the vigorous implementation of the Economic Sustainability Plan and also ensuring that there is liquidity within the system, funding government's budget for all ministries, departments and agencies to implement their programs and projects.
We must rise to deliver our economy and an economy that is worthy of our stewardship and protect our population from the scourge of poverty and exclusion. No excuses, no ifs, no buts.
The subnationals are fully carried along in the conversation this year with a view to gain traction for Nigeria to meet the SDGs target by the year 2030. In Abuja, Leah Katung Babatune, NTA News.
Good infrastructure. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Raji Fashola has ordered trucks and other articulated vehicles that are parked at the roadsides at Ogere access along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to immediately vacate the roads to protect the integrity of the already completed portions. The minister, who said this while inspecting the project, expresses satisfaction with the level of work, with hope that when completed, the road will bring about the much-needed development to small-scale businesses in the access. It is one road that keeps getting public attention as it has been under reconstruction for years. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is one of the busiest in Nigeria. According to a 2013 report, 40,000 vehicles ply the road per day, and at peak periods, 3,000 vehicles per hour. But this figure has significantly increased, generating more pressure on the road. One issue that has delayed the project was funding, but that has been resolved with the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund.
I want to say that the delays are inevitable. It is part of reconstructing the project, so everyone needs to be patient.
Minister of Works and Housing, who inspected the progress of work, was briefed by the contractors for both sections 1 and 2. The inspection later delved into a town hall meeting where issues of indiscriminate parking of trucks was raised.
Building this road, you will see that your travel time continues to improve every year. Yes, people say we have not finished it. Let me remind you that this road was awarded in April 1974 for the first time. It was finished 4 years after, in 1978. There was no traffic then. There was oil money in 1974. It still took 4 years to build. Now imagine what we are doing without oil money, with traffic management every day. Just please bear with us.
So I want us to now immediately begin to pay attention to these roads, particularly starting from Ikorodu, Shagamu, Iperu, Ode, Shakpade Road, which has now become the alternative road.
The road, which was initially constructed with 7.3 meter asphalt pavement, is being reconstructed to 18.5 meters with 4 layers of asphalt to cope with the expected vehicle pressure, among other plans to include 2 toll gates. Motorists and other road users are at this moment plying the completed section of the 3rd Mainland Bridge in Lagos, which was opened midnight to traffic. Correspondent who was on the bridge at the time of the opening reports that motorists are being encouraged to cooperate with traffic management personnel and exercise patience as work on the second phase of the project, shutdown for repairs, is expected to be completed in 3 months. After a successful 18-hour total closure of the 3rd Mainland Bridge, allowing the contractor to move its equipment from the completed carriageway to the island-bound carriageway, work is now set to commence for another 3 months for the second phase of the repairs. And at midnight, the barricades were placed, forcing motorists to make the hard but necessary decision to turn, as another partial closure of the 3rd Mainland Bridge is now effective.
And this is what we are seeing. So the vehicle will now be diverting from here up to that vehicle you see is now going to the island. It's coming right from the Oworonsoki and it's going to the island. So that's exactly what we are going to achieve from this moment. We could have completed this project a month ago, but because of that protest, we had a delay of about 1 month. But if there is no any delay, definitely we are going to achieve the completion of this project in February 2021.
The Federal Controller of Works noted that all alternative routes and time schedule for morning and evening traffic diversions remain, as the Federal Road Safety Corps and other traffic management agencies will be on ground to ensure seamless flow of traffic. And away from the roads to another mode of transportation, Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi says the massive investment in the railway is to achieve greater economic development and easier movement of cargo and passengers. The minister, during his monthly inspection of the Lagos-Ibadan railway project, also apologized to Nigerians for service interruptions on the Abuja-Kaduna route as a result of faulty locomotives, promising that more locomotives and wagons will soon be delivered delivered to boost capacity. Gradually, the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail line is taking shape, and the Ebute-Metta train station leaves little to the imagination of what to expect when completed, even at its present stage. Workers are busy with one job or the other, installing, fixing and grading, all in a bid to achieve deadline and the much anticipated resumption of passenger service. While it has become a routine inspection for the minister, this is the 28th since the project commenced, and the essence is to again put the contractors on their toes for timely delivery.
They've worked for over 3-4 months and they've not lost anybody. The implication that COVID is no longer an excuse. So we will insist, and we've told the Permanent Secretary and I and the Chairman of NRC with the Managing Director and Director of NRC, we've agreed that the technical committee should meet with them tomorrow to ensure that they put not policies, measures that will ensure that the pace of work is increased.
Issues around unresolved signaling system and other matters such as reduction of the workforce employed on the project and relocation of pipelines to link the rails with the Lagos port are set to be resolved.
We have come across such pipelines at Ijora. We are trying to see that we relocate them before we can move. But beyond that, works have continued to progress into the port.
A well-functioning rail system is an absolute imperative to unlock the potential of this economy.
And as the train runs faster, with every inspection, the Nigerian Railway Corporation is more confident that lives and businesses would benefit immensely when the rail begins commercial operations. President Muhammadu Buhari has assured that diplomatic relations between Nigeria and the Republic of Chad will always remain cordial, not only as neighbors, but as brothers. President Buhari, who stated this at State House Abuja on Tuesday while receiving a special envoy from His Excellency President Idris Deby Itno of Chad, added that Nigeria appreciates the support she is getting in tackling insecurity from the neighboring country. He said Nigeria is aware of the problem Chad has with Libya, which supports some Chadian rebels trying to destabilize the country since instability in Libya after 42 years of Muammar Gaddafi. He said from Mauritania to Central African Republic, Gaddafi recruited gunmen who learned to do nothing else but kill. When the former Libyan leader was killed, the gunmen escaped with their arms and are now wreaking havoc. President Buhari also expressed Nigeria's gratitude to Chad for the support given to combat Boko Haram insurgency. The president assured that Nigeria would always back Chad in its local and international aspirations. The special envoy, Anime Abba Siddiq, Minister of Foreign Affairs, African Integration and Chadians Abroad, conveyed a message from his president, whom he said sent fraternal greetings to President Muhammadu Buhari and Nigerians in general. The federal government has formally protested to the management of the news cable network CNN on the recent investigative report on NSAS crisis. The letter, signed on behalf of the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, by the Special Assistant to the President, Office of the Minister, Segun Adeyemi.
Addressed to Mr. Jonathan Hawkins, Vice President Communication, CNN Center, Atlanta, Georgia, the letter expressed the federal government's displeasure over the report, which CNN aired on the 18th of November. The federal government described the report as not only falling short of journalistic standards, it reinforces the disinformation going round on the issue as blatantly irresponsible and a poor piece of journalistic work by a reputable international news organization like the CNN. Drawing attention to certain facts that the report did not live up to basic core principles of journalism, which are balance and fairness. Rushing to air such a momentous story without presenting government side is inexcusable and indefensible. saying the claim by CNN that they contacted over 100 protesters and their family members and did not speak with any federal government official, the army, and the claim that Lagos state government officials declined comments. CNN, however, did not say efforts it made to speak with any federal government official. The truth, the federal government pointed out, is that CNN never made any attempt to reach the federal government, citing the reporter Nima El-Bagir, who probably led the investigation, is conversant with Information and Culture Minister, who is a spokesperson for the federal government of Nigeria. To this end, the letter reads, "It is strange to say the least that Nima will rush to air such an important investigative report without getting the government side." In other words, Nima, and by extension CNN, breached the most basic of the core principles of journalism: balance and fairness. Another serious breach by CNN in its investigation is that the network relied heavily on unverified footages it harvested from social media, as neither its reporter nor cameraman was there, but it relied on eyewitnesses. Again, the letter drew CNN's attention to its official Twitter handle, which it tweeted on the 23rd of October that 38 people have been killed, only for CNN again to mention that one person was killed in its report. It is equally surprising that CNN had footages showing vehicles carrying soldiers left the barracks and how they arrived Lekki tollgate, but couldn't obtain footages of those killed. With CNN saying it stands by its report, the federal government of Nigeria finds this position baffling, considering the fact that the report lacks fairness and balance. This face-saving measure by respectable news network, caught in the blinding glare of fake news and disinformation, explains a high level of arrogance in defense. On CNN star eyewitness in the report, DJ Switch, CNN didn't know that DJ Switch's story on Lekki tollgate shooting has changed several times, from claiming she counted 78 bodies, later changed to 15, and now she's claiming 7. For CNN to hold on to DJ Switch as its witness, DJ Switch has credibility problem. Hence, she can't pass any integrity test. Again, CNN, having obtained those footages, left out vital ingredients, as was the case in the Godson's 57 minutes 5 seconds video, where there were voices in the video telling Godson that the gunshots were not from soldiers, a valid point which should have made CNN not to go close to those footages. However, CNN was asked why it forgot to mention that 6 soldiers and 37 policemen were killed, while 196 policemen were injured, with monumental destruction of government and private properties during the NSAS protests. For the records, the federal government says this is not the first time CNN will be airing an inaccurate hoax story about Nigeria. In February 2007, Nigeria accused CNN of staging one of its reports from the Niger Delta region. CNN and its then African correspondent, Jeff Konange, flatly denied the charge. In the end, that's the story today. So, as a form of remediation, the federal government of Nigeria demands an immediate and exhaustive investigation from CNN into its investigative report on Lekki tollgate incident to determine, among others, its authenticity, whether or not it met the basic standards of journalism, and also the selective use of unverified social media videos to manipulate public opinion.
Watching Panorama coming to you from the Lagos Network Center. Time now for a break. The news continues shortly. Please stay with us.
The recent genuine concerns and agitations by Nigerians about the excessive use of force and in some cases extrajudicial killings and wrongful conduct by means of the Nigerian police force. The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reform in order to ensure that the primary duty of the police and other law enforcement agencies remains the protection of lives and livelihoods of our people. We will also ensure that all those responsible for misconduct or wrongful acts are brought to justice. We also deeply regret the loss of life of the young man in Oyo State during the recent demonstrations. I have directed that the circumstances of his death should be thoroughly investigated. Meanwhile, it is important to recognize that the vast majority of men and women of the police force are hardworking and diligent in performing their duties. The few bad eggs should not be allowed to tarnish the image and reputation of the force.
Now joining us via Zoom to discuss this disturbing increase in new cases of COVID-19 is Professor Omohua Adeleye, a public health and community medicine professor and deputy chairman, Medical Advisory Committee, Research and Ethics, University of Benin Teaching Hospital. Welcome to Panorama, Prof.
Thank you very much.
All right, Prof. In the last few weeks, Nigeria has been experiencing new cases of COVID-19. What would you say is responsible for this?
Right, thank you very much. It's important that we lay the background clearly. For us as specialists, we often look closely at how data are generated. So when you say there is a spike, that means you have some data. But we go behind the scene and look at how the data are generated. There are two possible explanations for what appears to be a spike. One is that it is possible that there are changes in the way data are collected. Unfortunately, we have been having an unstable approach in data collection in Nigeria. That means that the criteria set ab initio are not being followed in by far majority of places, which is not entirely the fault of the stakeholders, but partly from public behavior, because people have to present themselves, people need to consent, and we are not using a mass approach in the testing. Our strategy is not a mass approach. Yeah. So that puts some element of caution in the way we interpret data. We do know that initially concentration was on persons who were already possibly diagnosed as positive for COVID-19, their close contacts, and persons who meet certain criteria that require testing. Nowadays, however, many people have set that aside, and what is happening essentially is that travelers, people who need to do the test, are the ones mainly doing the tests. So there is a shift of the kinds of people that are being tested. The second approach to understanding the data is this, that there is indeed concern for it that a second wave is approaching. If you look at the national epi curve, that is epidemiological curve for COVID-19 in Nigeria, it doesn't strike immediately. However, if you look at what we have state by state, that is, you disaggregate. If you pick Lagos State, it shows a very obvious pattern of a second wave setting in, which is what we need to really look at, because Lagos is an epicenter for COVID-19 in Nigeria. That means that it depicts either an...
Thank you so much, Professor Omohua Adeleye, for your time. That's the much we can take. Now next is Sports Update with Olumide Ikuntola.
Football-loving Nigerians have continued to react to the ban of CAF President Ahmad Hamad by FIFA for 5 years from all football-related activities, describing the scenario as a bad omen for development of football in Africa.
Especially after investigations into his activities. And I also think that politics also is playing a big role.
Under Ahmad, he sold African football to FIFA. You remember the story of Fatma Samora coming to take over CAF?
In another development, the Flying Officers Cup and Nigerian Women Football League Pre-Season Championship ended Sunday in Abuja, with Bayelsa Queens defeating Nazara Amazons 1-0 to win the tournament. 8 teams competed in the week-long event in honor of Nigeria's first female helicopter combat pilot, the late Tolulokpe Arotile.
Thinking of younger girls is our main passion. They have once again been able to prove to the world that Nigeria has come of age.
In volleyball, the Nigerian Volleyball Federation Super Cup commenced at the weekend in Ilorin, with 7 male and 6 female teams participating in compliance with COVID-19 protocols. The 2 results indicate that Civil Defense beat Army Team 3-0, same for Nigeria Customs that defeated Kada Emeralds 3-0 in the female events. In the male event, Sunshine Spikers beat Army 3-0, Kano Pillars also beat Nigerian Police 3-0, while Civil Defense beat Nigeria Customs 3-2.
They have really shown their skills this competition. It's worth the top 8.
I give it up for the organizer for a well-organized aspect of COVID-19 protocols.
In tennis, Nigeria's #1 female tennis player, Oyinlomo Quadri, has organized a 2-day tennis tournament for about 36 ball boys, which ended on Sunday at the Lagos Law Tennis Club. The competition focused on creating platforms to develop the talents of the ball boys.
I trained to open a tennis academy here in my club.
The tournament, tagged Oyinlomo's Foundation, is to give back to the game of tennis. With sports update, Olumide Guntola, NTA News.
And with sports, we wrap up Panorama from the Lagos Network Center. Many thanks for watching.